Hello, everybody. I'm Jeremy, owner-operator Green 13 for 15 years. Third generation auctioneer and dealer of antiques and collectibles for over 30 years. 15 years. Auctioneer and dealer of antiques and collectibles.
We are Lysandra and Tony from ilovediscounts_com. With 20 years of experience across brick and mortar, Amazon, eBay, and whatnot, we have built, broken, and rebuilt resale businesses, so you don't have to.
Hi, I'm Tracy, a CPA with over 30 years of audit and tax experience and have worked with businesses in various industries. I am also a seller on Whatnot, eBay, and Etsy.
Welcome to Reselling Roundtable.
It's off now. I'm melting.
Oh no, I see it.
You see it? Just bear with me, guys. I don't know why it didn't switch. There it is.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Reselling Roundtable.
I don't have audio.
All right, can you hear? How's the sound? How's the video? I'm gonna use Jeremy's opening there. You can hear us.
I can hear them, but I don't have audio from them.
No audio from me. All right. Is it on? Okay. Low audio. Do you need to turn it up? Thank you, Millicent. I appreciate that. We'll get our act together here.
It was working just fine.
All right, you guys. I'm gonna start. Hopefully, you can hear me. Jeremy is loud and clear.
I am.
Yeah, I guess, yes, you're loud. Still can't hear me. So somebody, oh, we're good. All right. We're supposedly good now. Let me know if you still can't hear me in a minute. So we're talking about chat shows. Welcome to the Reselling Roundtable, everybody. Perfect.
There we go.
Tonight we are talking about chat shows, surprisingly. Thank God we're not talking about tech issues. I don't know why every time it's my turn to start the show, my husband, there's tech issues every single time. It's like I jinx it. But all of us, this is going to be an interesting talk tonight because all of us here are in different stages of our chat show. So we've all experienced, we've participated in chat shows, and we've all run our own. And as we go through the night, we'll each talk about where we are and what our goals are and what we're doing with our own shows. For me, I'm going to just give you a very quick highlight, and we'll dig into it a little bit deeper as we move forward. But I do quite a few chat shows, actually. So I do a couple that are like a chat and sell, more of a relaxed. And then I do a lot with accounting, business, and tax focus. So we do a lot of educational type of chat shows. I wanted to kind of set the stage for tonight, just at least to get us kicked off. And everybody else here may have a few other thoughts. But I was thinking about the different types of chat shows, at least to kind of categorize them to give us a little bit of direction when we're talking about them. And I came up with 4 main types. My opinion that I think almost all chat shows can fit into one of these 4. So the first one, which I think is the majority of what's out there, are like the seller buyer support shows. These are the chat shows where it's like, come ask me questions. We'll help you learn how to ship, how to list stuff, do whatever it is on Whatnot. It's that support type show. The next type that I identified was the chit chat shows. No real focus, no real topic. It's just like, let's hang out, have a good time, talk with each other about whatever in the world happens to come up. The third one is something that I'm seeing more and more. Maybe they've been around for a while, but I'm just starting to see a lot of them, are the hype chat and raid shows. So these are the ones that are the chat shows where people will just kind of go on for 20 minutes, maybe get a big group and go raid somebody. So they're not so much the seller support or any of that. It's more like, let's just get a group of people to go raid somebody. And then finally, we get to the last type, which is where I fall into the most, and that's your educational business type chat show. A little bit different than the seller support. I'm looking at the educational business ones more. You come from an area of certain expertise that you're kind of talking about more on a regular regular basis versus the typical, how do we ship? How do we, do whatnot? So those are the 4 that I identified. I'll be curious to hear if there are any other thoughts on that. There are, when we think about it, so many pros and cons to both sides, and we are going to go down all these little trails tonight. I'm actually really excited about this topic. I think it's going to be a really good talk tonight. And to kick it off, I'm sure Tony, Lysandra, and Jeremy already have thoughts on their mind about just a little bit that I said, but I'm going to throw a hot take out there just to be a little controversial because you guys know me. So my hot take on chat shows is not all chat show hosts are created equal, and qualifications matter. So currently Whatnot does not make you have any type of qualification, expertise. Anybody who's a seller can do a chat show, and I have issues with that. But we'll leave it at that. We'll see what everybody else thinks.
I've got a 5th one to add that I think is starting to gain traction in the category whatnot, and that's the how-to show. The homemade people have really kind of kicked it off, but I've also seen shows of people showing how to fix plumbing and install a sink faucet in your house, which I think is really cool. And as far as your hot take, I think there is value in new beginners finding new sellers, camaraderie with new sellers. The community chat to me, and while I mainly go to seller support shows, the community chat to me is kind of like a digital front porch, right? You find friends, and it's not about selling. It's about finding friends and networking and learning, and especially learning. But I can see value in someone new coming on and doing a chat show and just, hey, I'll be your shoulder, you be my shoulder as we get through this together. What do you think, MILF? I'm sorry, I'm making fun of his shirt.
Sorry. I didn't
And
realize it would be that
I've been
prominent.
sitting here talking to you guys for 20 minutes, and I'm just now realizing the shirt that he's wearing. So
Man, I love it. Anyway, I don't really disagree with your hot topic sentiment on maybe having some qualifications or something, but the reality of it is it's an open forum, and I don't believe they're really ever going to monitor that and start putting restrictions on running community shows. It's really, I don't know what it was like a year and a half ago before we started, but it really is an integral part of what for being able to either hang out and be with people or teaching or learning something, or even just going to a random karaoke show, which I had been to one and it was amazing. So I don't really think, and I guess the reality of that is how would you quantify the restrictions on all those different types of shows, right? It's just community. I have seen sellers with 300 sales trying to teach people how to do shows and have these shows, and it was horrible. And I've seen other sellers with 300 sales and it was fantastic. So I mean the knowledge there is across the board. It's going to vary, obviously.
And chat shows don't have to be seller support either.
No, they don't. I don't disagree with that. And that's what I'm saying. How would you manage who can and can't run a chat show with some sort of restrictions based on the variety of chat shows that you can do when everything is just lumped into community at this point?
Yeah. Well, there's kind of your answer, in my opinion. Subcategories.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That deal with, if you did break it out into several different subcategories, if we wanted to get to the point where you had credentialed people that could be verified and authenticated for the information they were providing. I mean, whether that would be an option or something people would undertake or be willing to accept, I wouldn't discount that as a a potential good idea for whatnot, whether they would do it or not, because it would lend some additional blanket of legitimacy and security in the information people are getting, which would be above and beyond the free flowing information that happens on every other type of media site, where it's exactly like, you hear where we're at on YouTube and any other site that's similar. People can just go on and say whatever they want, and they have to risk their own legal or financial, whether they get sued or whether they get, in trouble for it in one way or another. They have to take that on. And I think that's, unfortunately, to be honest, I think that's just the perspective whatnot's going to take. But it'd be nice to see them decide to trailblaze into, a different way of handling it. And that would be a way to handle it. And not to mention, I know they kind of do this with a group of people that they cherry pick and give on whatnot. That is, anyway. I don't know about other live streaming platforms or live stream selling platforms. They, do have some people that they handpick, but me personally, I think a lot of that's more agenda driven than it is you know what I mean? Like, it's instead of free flowing, informative and educational stuff to give that's outside of how whatnot works and what whatnot, is looking for you to do or accomplish to help them reach their agenda.
Yes.
And I'm assuming, you correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, you're talking about people like you coming on and doing something that's tax related, and making sure the person that's doing it actually has the credentials to do so, or someone that's, going to give some type of advice towards, business related stuff, actually has some type of credentials towards it. Or when people come on here and say, hey, or come on to whatnot chat shows and say, you have to have your auctioneer's license or something like that in order to actually do what you're doing, or otherwise you can get yourself in trouble. What credentials do they have to actually legitimately say that and strike fear into a bunch of people's, selling styles or selling at all? So I don't disagree with the concept, but I also agree with Tony that my gut tells me whatnot's not going to do anything about it, unfortunately.
I actually don't. So I think I may have said that in a way that was a little misleading. I actually don't believe that whatnot needs to enforce qualifications. So I'm not for that necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
The point I was making is that not everybody who runs chat shows, there's hundreds of them out there, I'm sure, across the board. There's, quite a few just in community, but I know a lot of people run chat shows within the other categories that are still chat shows. They just don't list them in community. There is no, they're not all created equal. There are some people out there that are purposely, maybe unintentionally, just giving terrible information. There we go, Debbie. One community host was telling people to get an LLC. That's my soapbox. Y'all know that one. But so there's people out there giving completely terrible information. We're not all created equal, and it's up to us and the people attending the chat shows to ask the right questions and to verify and to do their own research on the credibility and the qualifications of the person. I think this probably gets under my skin a little bit more because what I talk about is very specific, and particularly during tax season, there is so much bad information that I feel like I spend 3 months trying to undo the bad that was done. Like it's the same questions that I get over and over. And I'm constantly saying, I know other people are saying this, they are wrong, they are incorrect, here is the right way. So they're not all created equal. You got to be careful. And that's, I think, probably my biggest pet peeve with the chat shows is I don't think whatnot can monitor them. They can't put qualifications on them, but there's a lot that are just really bad.
And the chat in here is talking about this as well, and I'm gonna just throw this out here. My biggest pet peeve is that a lot of people come on and do chat shows like their way is the only way, or they know more than everybody else.
And there's
And-
more than one way to
and
skin a
there's
cat.
and there's always more than one way to skin the cat, and we make sure in every chat show we've ever done that we quantify with whatever we're discussing that our way is might or might not be the best way for you. And that's the beauty of Whatnot is every seller does things their own way, sells their own types of products, does their own types of shipping, handles their stream their own way. Can we all learn something from every one of them out there and try to incorporate or delete from our shows? Yes. But the ones that come on and say how their way is the law or the rule or the only way it should be done, that's what really gets my goat.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm very adamant when we're talking to people about answering questions or ways to do things that this is how we do it, this is how you can do it, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to figure out what's best for you. And there's 19 different ways to skin that cat, that whatever cat it is we're talking about. So
Absolutely.
I'm done. I've inputted that. I'm done.
I don't think any of us disagree with that. I mean, that attribute. My curiosity, I'm going to kind of throw a different direction here. What would you guys say, based on your observation, is the most prominent type of chat show that's out there? I know you were saying one of these, like the how-to styles, starting to come up.
Seller help.
Seller help, definitely.
Seller help. Yeah. Seller buyer help. More seller help,
Yeah.
but some people include the buyers too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people, I can't say a lot of people, but I know for Tony's and my experience, we started chat shows for a couple different reasons. We wanted more exposure on the app without adding shipping time.
Yeah.
And a chat show was a way to do that.
Yes.
And I know I can only speak for us because I know not all sellers feel this way, but I get very concerned on our chat shows about someone taking my advice and not applying it appropriately, or maybe I didn't understand the whole concept because we're talking through chat, right? I'm getting all my information to give them advice through chat, and maybe I didn't get the whole context of it. And what the advice I gave them will not apply properly to what they're trying to do. And that's one of the things that actually kind of keeps me up at night about chat shows when I was running them.
So, by curiosity, I'm kind of trying to go down a little bit of a path here with the support shows, since that's a predominant thing, and we all have witnessed the underqualified or people that aren't even experienced enough to be or should be, and probably all of our opinions going on there and giving support style shows.
Mm-hmm.
I know my perspective on this, but what's your perspective onto why people are doing that? I'm doing this to I'm trying to look for, so we can start talking about some of the benefits, the positives. You know, Lysandra already just mentioned one of the negative attributes that probably comes along with doing chat shows, but what do you think they're trying to get? What are they getting out of doing these shows?
I think the primary reason is conversion into buyers, finding new people on the app and converting them into buyers in their selling shows.
And I think it's a combination of that and still generating sales with the sponsorship giveaways and selling things out of your bin and little trinkets here and there, all while still communicating some sort of knowledge, right or wrong. It's still about sales, but I think the majority of it is what Lysandra said, is it's the exposure and attempting to bring a different group of people to you that never knew you existed.
I agree with, it's not that I disagree. I actually agree that they're doing it for those reasons, but I also think it's the social aspect. It's they're coming in here and they're looking at it like this, like it's, FaceTime or something like it's a way to, let's just go and have some fun, I don't think, honestly, from the questions I get and some of what I see, I don't necessarily believe everybody goes into a chat show with a business mindset. Like, I'm doing this strategically for a certain reason. I think they're like, oh, this looks like fun. Let's do it. More so
I
with the
but
thought that they're
also,
going to get followers and maybe sell some stuff from the bin. So I think it's what you're saying, but I also think there's an element of I just want to type thing.
and I'm not degrading anybody that is listening to this, but Tracy, you would know this more than anybody because you really preach about and try to teach people to think of their whatnot business as a business.
right.
Yep.
Where and I feel like a lot of people don't think of
They
it as a business.
Yeah.
So that would go along the lines with what you're saying is that maybe they don't go and start community shows because they're not thinking it through on a business side.
Correct.
So maybe I'm talking more for established sellers or large sellers starting community shows.
Yeah.
No, I think our response is across the board. I don't care if they're new or larger. It's the exposure of it, at least in my head, right? Because that was our main principle, and it seems to make the most sense for having these chat shows. But I don't disagree with that at all, Tracy. But I think I'm going to have a chat show just so I can talk to people is the lesser of the reasons for the majority for most of the chat shows.
But reselling is very isolating as a business, especially if you start to go full time. It's a very isolating business.
I started my chat show for exposure. When I first started, my perspective has changed drastically. But when I first started, it was for exposure.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think the proliferation that was happening with the newer people that were only on for 6 months, 8 months, there was a time frame where there was a ton of people like that on here.
Yeah.
I think it's a simple perspective of perceived success based on the wrong metrics that they were looking at. Because when people went into the chat shows, there was no doubt they would get 2 or 3 people in their room. But when they had a chat show, they would get 30 people in their room.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
a huge
that's actually in my
uptick,
notes.
aspect to feeling like you're accomplishing and getting something. And then, of course, everything else kind of starts falling into place with the thoughts that you were talking about. You start thinking, well, if I have this many people, I'm getting more exposure. Therefore, I'm going to have that, like what I always call the spam perspective, even though that's not what you're really going for. But that's really the result is minimal return on that. But they still think through that, if I got more people in my room, more people are going to know about me, more people are going to follow me. So then if I go on and sell when it comes selling time, that should translate to more sales. Even though my personal opinion, as you know, the conversion on that is super low and not worth all the time you're doing it if that's what you're really after. Like my perspective, when I went into the chat show, I went in not for, support style. It was just because I enjoyed talking about business. So I went into it for that, like, I want to talk about what I'm going to talk about. And for some reason, people want to listen to it, and it made me happy type of perspective. And as you know, we're going to be talking about later. I mean, we talked before we came on here. Every one of you found me through my chat show.
Yep.
Like you started coming to my shows later. So is the conversion there to be had? Yes. That's a definite. To what extent? I mean, obviously that's a hard one to determine. But initially, when they opened up the community category, I mean, I was doing my chat show before the community category was even a category on Whatnot. And then they created it because there's a huge backlash where people were like, these people are doing chat shows and they're getting more people than the sellers are. And because of that, they're taking potential buyers away from sellers. Right. So Whatnot was like, well, we still want this to be the case, so we're going to find a home for it. And that way we send a flag to all these people that are complaining that this is okay with Whatnot, because they were trying to say it was against terms of service to have a chat show back then.
Which is funny because they still do chat shows at least in vintage estate sales, like some of these ones, there's still people that do chat shows there.
Yeah. And that's because that's their home and that's where they get their highest amount of exposure.
Yep.
It's like you said, all of us, the root, still comes down to that exposure. But when you're early on, and it feels to me, and you guys go running around a lot more in the community categories and online in general on whatnot, that it feels like it died down a little bit from what it was. What was it, like 6-8 months ago, or like the middle of that, maybe even a year ago? There was a ton of community chat shows, tons of, and it was support shows.
Than it was last year.
Yeah, it was a ton. And that's where we had a proliferation of the people that we would all deem like, you probably shouldn't be giving the advice. You know, but I think the big metric was, I feel like I'm actually succeeding here, and then I can leverage that over into my sales.
I have a real quick question, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, you start your chat show because you enjoy talking about it. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months down the line, you're doing it every week. You have 3 people in the room. Do you continue it?
No, I wouldn't. If you're asking me,
I'm asking you why.
I wouldn't, because I would feel that people weren't getting anything out of what I was doing, and that would ruin some of the enjoyment for me.
There you go.
Okay. So I do it because I enjoy talking about it, and the people enjoy listening and responding to me, which tells me that they enjoy what I have to say. Yeah. So then I feel, I mean, if I just wanted to talk, you know, I could, you know, talk to the wall if I just wanted to talk about it in general, or just go and take notes and read about it and stuff like that, and accomplish the same like enjoyment factor of, you know, having my brain active in the business, you know, in a business sense or business minded aspects. But, you know, coming on here and talking about it, when I, you know, started doing it, people enjoyed it. Now, again, we always had to put this into perspective, because when I came on Whatnot, we blew up really fast back 5 years ago. You know, we just had our 5-year anniversary. So when I decided to have a chat show, it very quickly, and again, I was very early in the chat doing a chat show. There wasn't a community category, and there wasn't a lot of people doing chat shows. It was not a thing. People actually looked at it like, even I did. I was like, is it something people would even care about? Yeah. Because there wasn't any metric for that. There wasn't anybody doing it for me to go and say, yeah, this looks successful. Like there's a value to this. I was like, is it kind of weird? Like me and Shane even talked to him, like, wonder if people think it's weird if I went on and just started talking about stuff. Like now it seems commonplace and like, yeah, it makes sense. But back then on this platform, being a new platform, it was like, is it going to be weird? Is Whatnot going to be okay with it? You know, how's it going to be perceived? Like, you know, it had a whole different, you know, a whole lot of different potential unknowns involved with the decision to do it. So,
and
but
Tony,
I did it and people enjoyed it.
I like your question because I think it's interesting. Jeremy's like, no, if I had 3 people, I wouldn't do it. When I first started my talk shows, it was purely tax focused, and I was lucky to get 5 or 6 people. Week after week after week after week for months. And
that's how I met you.
Yeah.
That's how I met you, because you were doing tax shows in November, which is when we first found Whatnot. And here you are with 2 people, 3 people in your room. And I was like, oh, let me go in here and give her some company and boost up her chat. And that's how I met Tracy.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Tracy's reason for going into it was different than mine. So if my reason was to go in for exposure, just like I tell people, if your exposure is sales, whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't give up, you just keep going. If my purpose behind doing my chat show would have been for exposure, because, you know, it would have been like, okay, this isn't fun, but I have a different reason behind it besides just pure enjoyment for myself, I would keep doing it.
Yes.
So hopefully that clarifies things for you, because it's the reason behind why you're doing it would determine whether I would stop after 3 people or not. Being continual.
And Millicent, that's also another reason Tony and I started ours, because we would get seller support type questions within our show.
Yes.
And we didn't want to take time away from selling and what paid our bills. So having a once a week or twice a week chat show was a good way to be like, hey, I am happy to take time out and answer your questions, but
in this
show over here on this day.
Yeah. Come back in 2 days, 7 o'clock in the morning. We'll talk about everything you want to talk about. But right now I'm selling.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. The other thing that was really helpful that we all know is gone now is when they had the streams available for rewatching, because I would have those same questions like, oh, I just talked about that last Sunday. You can go rewatch it right now if you want.
Yep, exactly
You
right.
know, so, and that was before the multicasting was available. Just say like that wasn't a thing back then. So,
And
but
you guys hit on a big one of my, Lysandra, you kind of mentioned it's one of my kind of big things that I talk about all the time is if you're going to do a chat show, I'm a huge believer in there should be a strategic purpose in the way it fits in with your business. Like I'm just, for myself, I don't believe in let's just go and talk. There's a little caveat to that, but mainly I think there should be a purpose to it. Because if you're just coming on just to talk, particularly during the hours that you would be running your business, how is that beneficial to you? Is that the best and most efficient use of your time versus running an actual show and selling stuff? So I think there has to be a purpose to what you're doing to some extent. Personal opinion.
And to counter that, I don't. That's why mine's on Sundays. Mine was all about
Exactly.
personal enjoyment. I did on
Outside of
Sundays during my
business
personal
hours.
time.
Yeah.
Well, it is and isn't. I mean, the time I do that, I consider it for myself. And the funny thing is, and I got to give credit to my wife in this situation, because there was multiple times I was like, I'm working too much and I need to stop doing this. And she's like, why would you stop doing the thing you do for yourself that you enjoy? So that has kept me on the, probably for another 1.5 to 2 years of my chat show on Sundays, because there was multiple times I was just like, I enjoy it, but I'm just burnt out from being on Whatnot all the time. And I thought like, oh, maybe if I take that away, it'll relieve some. And she's like, no, you need to look at taking other attributes of it away, not the thing you're doing just for enjoyment for yourself.
Yep.
So, just to clarify, because I don't think any of us have talked about it, where are we all at as far as our chat shows? How long have you been having them? What are they focused around? And all that fun stuff.
Do you want to
Who's
start?
kicking this one off?
Do I want to start?
We might as well.
So I started our chat shows probably 3-4 months into reselling and whatnot.
Yep.
Philly Flipper, I'll give him a shout out, is actually the one that convinced us to start them. And Tony wanted to start them for sponsored giveaways and to start doing those. However, the time I had available was 7:00 in the morning, which Tony is not up at that time. And I didn't like them, so I didn't do them. I think sponsored giveaways lasted 2 shows. And then I stopped. And mine was more about, it was called Squirrel Brain and Coffee. And it was, hey, ask me your questions, your problems, and let's solve them together over coffee. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes I just squirrel brained all over the place. But there's typically some types of tidbits in there. And I probably ran that, what do you think, about 8 months?
Give or take.
On Saturday mornings.
Give or take.
And it was actually Tracy and the direction that our business was taken that kind of had me stop those. And we just started back up our seller support shows. Now, last week was our first one, and tomorrow will be our second one, and they're focused around shipping.
Yay!
And I'm glad you
I
started.
know,
again.
Jeremy's favorite subject. But hey, now you can be like, when you get shipping questions, be like, go follow I Love Discounts.
Yep.
They'll answer them.
Go look at their YouTube. It's all there for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go next. I'll give my little history. So I started doing chat shows a 1.5 years ago, and it was solely just tax. So I'm a CPA, have a tax accounting background, been in business for years, was a CFO at a nonprofit, been client facing, doing audits and tax work for many, many years. So that's what I brought to the table. So I'm not one to naturally talk. Surprise, surprise, I don't just sit here and talk. I always have notes of some sort. And I didn't feel that I could just do a show on nothing. Like for me, I wasn't just going to come on and be like, oh, the sky is blue. What's everybody doing? Like that's not who I am. So I started doing tax. And Lysandra mentioned, I had 2 or 3 people. But I did it over and over again. And eventually that grew to where now This year, we're doing a 52-week series. It's called the Live Seller Collection. So every Friday morning at 7 a.m., I do 2 hours of business talk. It is a dedicated topic. You can go any one of my shows and see what we're talking about for the next, all the Fridays for the rest of this year. And then Friday evenings, I used to do an hour of business, an hour of tax. Kind of, they were complementary topics. I have found that I've been rushing through the business side of it and kind of cutting the tax a little short. So I've just recently, in the last 2 weeks, I do 2 hours of business on Friday morning and an hour of tax on Friday evenings, 7 and 7. And I'm loving it. That's my focus. I feel I get excited about it. I always have pages of notes. I love preparing for the shows. I love that it's totally me, type A, have it planned out, very far in advance. But in addition to that, this is part of the talk shows for me are part of a multi-year plan. This is laying a foundation for where I want my business to grow. So I'm really growing the tax and accounting side of my business. So this is forming the base. This 2026 is my base year, is my foundational year to start to position myself as an expert in the field, an expert with other resellers. So in addition to that, I also do Ledger to Leadership, which is an accounting course every Monday night. It's basically a chat show. I'm teaching accounting. And then here and there, I'll do a few others. I have different series planned coming. Coming in June, I have, I'm going to do monthly series, different 4 times a year on various topics. I have other stuff off of platform that I'm working on for that part of the business, courses and such that may or may not see the light of day on Whatnot, but they're a lot of the information I'm building courses for are coming from the chat shows that I'm doing on Friday morning. So I'm repurposing a lot of that information. And then I started a completely different purpose on Monday, Wednesdays, I don't know, about 6 months ago, doing talk shows because I realized that I really lacked that chit chat skill. I felt that I couldn't talk without notes. So I started doing a Monday, Wednesday chat and sell where it was mainly chat, supposedly without notes. It was supposed to be off the cuff, seller support chat. And then I would sell when I needed a break, when I felt like, oh, I don't know what to talk about. Let's sell something for a minute while I try to regroup and think about something. And that's evolved to be kind of grown and got its own life of its own now. And I'm enjoying it. But talk shows, chat shows are a huge part of what I do. I probably spend about 8 hours a week, either doing them or preparing for them. So 8 to 10 hours a week.
So I started my chat show, I don't even remember how long ago. I don't remember. It was right around, I'd say 8 months to a year on being on Whatnot. So my chat show technically started, probably close to 4 years ago now. So initially, my chat show was what I said I wanted to do because I enjoyed it, and I was kind of not as much like Tracy, but I like to put a topic together, pre-plan it, and then just go into like the details, and a lot of it had to do with some strategy, sales strategies, or liquidation strategies for common problems I knew people had with buying and selling. The early days, if anybody was with me when I did it, I would put those theories together, the POP personality traits, the POS personality traits, and a lot of behavioral principles trickled in through there. But eventually what happened is, as my business was growing, it got to the point where planning these things out became a burden instead of a joy. So then that's when I kind of shifted from doing pre-planned, strategically, directed chat shows to the random rambling chat shows that I do now. Like I would have different titled chat shows back then, and then now I just do the random rambling because of all the shows that I do, especially last year. Last year, my workload was crazy. Like right now, it's a lot less. But last year we were running shows nonstop. I was hiring. We were going through monstrous growth, and putting time aside to put a constructed pre-planned chat show together was not an option. So now where I'm at right now is, again, I'm strategically trying to find places to continue monetization. And since the chat show unlike Tracy, I don't plan on pushing the chat show towards, building it within my business structure. That's all more geared towards, that I'm gearing is just the flat out strategy of selling on whatnot. And that means taking those times and that I was doing the chat show and utilizing that time for more sales. And which means, and I even said this today, actually started giving some letting people know that I'm going to start winding down. And one of the reasons we are doing this podcast was because I was looking to wind that Sunday chat show down, alleviate the need. Like if I can't make it or got something like next week, I'm not going to be here. I'm on vacation, and it doesn't matter. I don't know. Before, when I was on vacation, I would come on and do my chat show.
Yeah.
I'd come on Sunday, even when I was on vacation, I'd do my chat show. So now that's not going to be happening. I'm going to start looking at, if I do stick with any element of the chat show, it'll be like once. I'm going to start probably doing like twice a month and then go down to once a month. And then maybe that'll allow me to, have time on my Sundays personally, a couple times a week, being able to jot notes down and put a more structured thing together. And I think people would ultimately enjoy that more, because you guys even told me before we started this, like, that's the stuff that you miss about my chat shows. Like right now, it's just, I just come on and try to pull questions out of people, and that's what everybody does. And before, I had that structured element. So maybe, I can kind of bring both of that back, together, where I can accomplish what I'm looking for, which is what I'm, going to shoot for. Have more sales shows on Sundays when I can. And then when I do a chat show, it'll actually be more structured and involve the good old day principles that I used to do, and put, bring the psychology, the human behavior, and correlations between that and strategies for, people to sell on here, and the reasons why, and the fun stuff. So,
Hey, I don't know about the rest of them, but still one of my most memorable chat shows of yours was you on vacation in the bar.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Buying
yes.
them the beer.
when you just sat there and had a beer and just shot the shit without.
I did that. I don't even remember that.
You don't remember that?
That's because we got you drunk.
Yeah. You started it off in the car, and you walked into the bar, and you sat down at a booth, and you had a beer.
Noelle bought your first beer, and we bought you your second beer.
Yep. But that one put Jeremy on a much more relatable level with us.
I agree.
You know why I don't remember that? Because at the end of the show, I kept drinking, and I don't remember.
Even the bartender was in the show. See, I remember.
So let's talk about the positive business effects, because I feel like both of you kind of touched on some of my notes. And this podcast is a testament to some of these things that I wrote down. Some of the positive business effects are relationship building, long-term customer loyalty, trust building, networking opportunities, and future collaborations. This podcast
absolutely
is a collaboration that evolved from chat shows on Whatnot. Long-term trust building, people are going to be more likely to purchase from you if they trust you. I don't know that I've seen long-term customer loyalty, but there definitely is some conversion there that's notable, at least from what I can see. And I think for me, the relationship building and the networking opportunities, my best friends on the app came from chat shows. 100%. I met them either through their chat show, my chat show, or a combination of both,
or even somebody else's.
Or somebody else's, but that's where I probably grew my biggest relationships on the app was in chat shows. I'm sorry, did I leave that weird?
Nope.
I was waiting for a question at the end of that. No, I agree with everything you're saying.
Very matter of fact, Tracy.
Yeah, it was very matter of fact. I definitely agree, and some of the positives that I've seen. Now, I know there's conversion from my chat shows to people coming to buy from me. There is, I can't quantify it, so I can't tell you, oh, that's a certain percentage. I know there's some. Um,
Yes.
I do have far more people in my chat shows than I ever have in my selling shows. But where I'm seeing that there is an absolute effect for the chat shows nowadays for me is that I get tagged at least once, if not more times a day, and the tag is always Zoe's Treasures for Taxes, Zoe's Treasures chat show, Zoe's Treasures for accounting or business, which I'm thrilled about. That's what I want to happen, but I'm seeing that where a year ago I wasn't. So I mean, it's taken a long time to build to that point, but that's having my name spoken in rooms that I'm not in, and that's powerful, and there's a lot of value in that, and that is a direct relation to my chat shows.
Yeah, I do that all the time. If somebody in my chat shows her, I was like, "You're gonna go talk to Zoe. Zoe's Treasures. That's where you go." I'm not talking about.
I appreciate it.
Yep, we do the same.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons I started back up the chat shows is that Austin meetup and meeting all the people face to face that didn't even know I Love Discounts or who Tony was. They knew me.
Yep.
Which means they never came to a selling show, and that person was not converted to a buyer, but I had an impact on them, and that it kind of gave me all the warm, fuzzy feelings inside.
And it wasn't just one or two people.
No, it was a lot. It was a lot.
It was quite a few.
But I mean, if you want to talk about conversion, and I specifically did this for this tonight, these earrings came from Jeremy. And there's a vase right up there on my top shelf that came from Tracy. I go into Chattery Wampus says I go into chat shows and tell them to bookmark you. I do too. I think what Tracy's chat shows about taxes is highly needed.
Yeah.
People do not take that take the accounting and all that back end work seriously enough, because maybe this is just a part-time gig that they started as fun for some soccer money to pay for their kid. But no matter how big or small it is, you have to think of it as a business, or it'll ultimately never go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it just boils down to the value in a chat show is kind of what tied back to what we were talking about almost at the beginning with Tracy's pet peeve is if you know what you're talking about and can provide accurate and appropriate information to the people that are in them that come in, it's going to create conversion. It's going to create brand loyalty. It's going to, it's going to do everything that you're trying to accomplish with it. Yep. But again, go back to what Tracy was saying. If that's what you're after, make sure you incorporate it into your overall business model. If that's your main goal in it, and make sure you know what you're saying is accurate, and or at least if you don't know if it's accurate, you say you don't know if it's accurate. Correct. You just you're definitely giving the people the appropriate CYAs for yourself that like, hey, this is my perspective and this is what I think and this is the way I would do it based on that. And I think they're ultimately, I think they're a great thing, but I don't know how many of them out there are actually like great chat shows. That's the thing I don't know. I mean, I don't go out there and look. Like, what do you guys have any like initial thoughts on like percentage wise? Would you say the majority of them are good and helpful, or honestly, do you think that now I got to put it in context as far as the support shows that are meant to be of help, not the shows that Tracy kind of broke down to. You guys said like there's a how-to ones, shows, yeah, or the ones where you're just going on to have fun or do like tarot card readings and all that kind of stuff, So
I'm going to throw it out there first because since Austin, I've been in quite a few chat shows where I wasn't really in a whole lot of them over the first year.
I was.
She was. I was not. And over the last few weeks of me being in chat shows, it's a coin flip on whether you get good information or not. It is literally a coin flip.
If you wanted me to put a percentage on it, I feel maybe 20% of them maybe are really, really good.
Okay.
And then probably there's 30% that are really, really bad. And then there's like a 50% in there that are just
You're going to get a little bit of good information and
maybe a little bit of bad, or maybe they're not quite cut out for it.
Yeah.
That's my very humble opinion, though.
So, hearing that, what comes to my mind is, okay, so how do we spot the bad ones? Because I think that's important. I think it's important for everybody going into these shows. How do you know if you're getting valuable information or you're being fed a line of BS? And I'll give you a couple of things that I look for when I go into a chat show, and then maybe you guys have some ideas of what you look for to evaluate the value of the information. I always look in their bin. I always look in the bin. And if they have things that violate terms of service, like buy me a coffee or buy my dog a treat, I'm not putting any value on what you say. That's my opinion. If you can't follow terms of service, what you're going to tell me isn't going to be correct. For the most part, that's how I feel about that one. So I look at that. I look at what's in their bin, and I will always read their bio. I will look at how many sales they have or try to judge how long they've been on the app. I'll read their reviews. So the normal stuff that you might even do just if you're going to buy from them, I will do to try to kind of judge who they are. And then I usually give them a chance. I will listen for, 20, 30 minutes and hear how they're answering questions, what they're saying. Does it align with terms of service? Can they back up what they're saying? To me, that's a big one. How do they respond? Can people disagree with them in their chat and they're okay with that? As long as everything's kept respectful, right? And then if they're asked, like, where do you get that information or why, can they back that up? That's huge for me. If somebody is just like, the algorithm says this, no, but they can't say, here it is in terms of service. And I mean, we're a little bit fancy. We'll bring it up on the screen. I don't expect that. But even to say, hey, in terms of service under this section, this is where you can find it. If they can't do those things, I'm iffy on whether I'm going to stay in their room or value what they're saying.
First thing I look at is items sold. Mm-hmm. It's the very first thing I look at.
Yes.
And then everything else you're talking about, Tracy, is kind of like I look at that and their ratings. I know it happens. Some people dip into that 4.9 and correct themselves back up to a 5, but if they have like a 4.8 or lower on their ratings, one of two things. If they have high sales count and they're that low, that means too much is getting through that I wouldn't want to really, that's the first negative tick for me.
They have a lot of issues
there. If they have low sale counts and the 4.8, that could just be an unfortunate situation with, they just had, a couple of bad, reviews and they don't have the amount of, go to fix it. Like it could just be bad ones. That can happen. It could just, it could happen to people. But then at the same time, if they have low sale count, then I'm also going to be like, if they that tracks with experience. I'm a very heavily, experience speaks volumes, and then everything else you're talking about, Tracy, is what I would go to look at. Is like, okay, what are they saying in their bio? And then if I'm listening to them, there's the first thing that I look at. I'm listening to them. If anything that's even remotely close to or around, like gets around the statement that's similar to, do what I say, not what I do, I'm out.
Yes.
I am gone. I'm like, there's no way anybody should be listening to someone that's telling them to do something that they themselves can't substantiate in action or by experience. Like I said, I'm a big experience person. And when you say words like that, you're basically saying, this is just what I think, and I'm trying to tell you to do what I think you should be doing, and saying that my success means that you should listen to it, but your success had nothing to do with those actionable items that you're telling other people to do. I'm like, that is the toxicity. That's the, that is the worst. And there's a lot of ways that can be said. But if I'm hearing anything that's remotely close to that, then that is the ultimate, I'm out of here, and everybody should run from those people as far and as quickly as possible.
Hey, I'm gonna interject one thing about what you said, because I fall into this trap also. if I hit if I hit a chat show, I'm looking at the profile. I'm looking to see how many they've sold. I'm looking at their ratings. But and everybody, and this is just for everybody listening, I guarantee the four of us right here know this, and it just wasn't said. Number of items sold does not necessarily determine length on the app or knowledge, because most of us have experience elsewhere. Does it put it into whatnot? Maybe, maybe not. And if you're teaching specifics, then that's where it could be questionable. But you get somebody like D Archivist, who has been on the app for 4 or 5 years, and she only has like 5,000 items sold.
But she knows her stuff.
But she can tell you just damn near everything inside and out about whatnot, one way or another.
I want to add on that
my
really
metric
quick.
is under 1,000.
Yeah. And
That's what I mean by low sales count.
Yes.
Like 5,000 is not that bad. Like you learn a lot with 5,000 in sales.
But let me just add really quick,
take that
Tony.
into perspective. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Going on to what you say too, just because you have wings doesn't make you a good chat show host either.
Oh no,
So,
no.
It goes both ways.
Heck no. And I hadn't even gotten to the wings yet. I was going to get there.
Okay.
But the reality is, you can have 5,000 sales in 1 month.
Yeah.
Entirely possible, and still not know a damn thing about the app. For real. So if you are a profile looker and you're going in and checking them out, you still got to go and kind of listen to them. Now, none of this advice that I'm about to say or have said in the last few seconds does any good for a brand new person on the app, because they don't know what's right or what's wrong, and they can't tell the difference on somebody who's got 300 sales and been on the app for 18 months and what their information is correct or not, right? If they're there, they're asking for the questions, they're getting a response, and they're just going to take it as gold, right? Yeah. This person said I can do this. Which, if hopefully any of them come and watch this podcast and they will hear this statement, please don't just watch one. Go watch 30. Go ask that same question to 30 different sellers having a chat show and get all of those responses. Because while us, with the experience, we go and we look at those profiles and we can kind of determine what we've got going on, as well as the first 5 minutes of the conversation, you can kind of gauge whether that person knows what the heck they're talking about or not. But what?
No. I was sassy. Anyway, I'm you to finish. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, I'm done. No, I can't believe Tracy didn't say this. Trust but verify. You should be reading TOS yourself. 100%. You should be reading TOS for yourself. And like Tony said, don't just listen to one seller's. Like I wouldn't just go into Jeremy's shows and take his word as gospel. And I wouldn't do it with Tracy either. And I love both of these people. I have a podcast with them. But you should be looking at not 30 maybe, but you should be looking at many people's and comparing, but you should be verifying what they're saying in TOS and know for a fact. I can tell you now, I had a situation where community host called Tony and me out saying we were against TOS, and we were 100% not.
We were not.
And I fought for it. I fought against it when I was called out in shows. We were not against TOS, and I knew we weren't, because not only did I read TOS once, but I read it twice, I read it 3 times, I read it 4 times.
Yep.
Trust but verify.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to put a little thing out there for everyone. Google search is not TOS.
No, it's not.
No.
Correct.
Do not Google search. That is one of the biggest things that's another red flag. I'm just going to say that when I go into a chat show and someone Google searches something and reads the results of that as gospel to people.
No.
And what they're neglecting to understand is that's not pulling from TOS. Actually, the majority of that's coming from old information on Reddit and opinions and old TOS information of what people said on these different platforms. It's easy to go find TOS. You can search TOS. You can, go through and read it all as well. So that's another red flag to me. And, all that stuff is just red flags. But if enough of red flags are there, that's the reason why I would get out. So
I like it, Leslie. Seller chat shows should be resource, not the
Not
source.
absolutely. And I think new people,
Ooh, I like
like
that.
Tony, I agree with you where you said new people may not know because they're new and they may not know if they're being fed a line of baloney or not. However,
Right.
you can feel the vibe in the room. You can see that if somebody in the chat says, "Oh, those are interesting numbers, where do they come from?" and they're blocked, they get a rude response. You can feel if the person knows what they're talking about. You can see that
Oh yeah.
in the host
100%.
reaction. Anytime if a host can't back it up by telling you where to go in terms of service, or if they're talking about like me for taxes, if I can't tell you where to go on the IRS website or anything like that, that's a sign right there that they're just spouting information. If you can't respectfully disagree or respectfully ask questions or answer a question to somebody else, you'll see this a lot too, that there'll be chat shows where somebody will ask a question and other people in the chat will pipe in and answer the question. If the host is getting mad about that, that's a sign too that maybe this isn't a room you need to be in.
Yeah.
Because that's all very just kind of like those control signs where it's going to be my way or no way, and you just have to trust what I'm saying. So I think new people can, to some degree, even if they don't understand terms of service yet, still kind of pick up on some of those.
I'm gonna, if you don't have anything real quick, Jeremy, I'm gonna throw something out real quick. There was a comment a little bit ago. I don't remember who it was. I'm sorry, and I can't find it quickly. It was said, what about these seller chats who are selling the profile readings?
profile reviews.
Rate my profile. So listen. First of all, we don't want to talk about any specific sellers here, okay? What I will say is, me personally, and we can roundtable this one if you want.
Oh, we're going to.
Me
Casey's ready
personally,
too.
I can't see anybody, so there you go. Me personally, I don't have a problem with an experienced seller who knows what they're talking about to attempt to monetize some of these things, right? We can talk about several different things that are out there. Tracy even mentioned the buy my dog a treat or buy me a coffee. To my knowledge, those are not TOS if set up, not against TOS if set up properly. It's just like the Chubby Box,
they specifically use the buy my dog a treat in terms of service of what not to do.
They do.
Did they change it to specifically say that now?
Specifically,
Okay.
they call it out. Yes.
Gotcha. So from what I had in the past was, as long as something was still being sent out and you knew what you were getting, which follows the Chubby Bucks thing. But I don't have a problem with monetizing your time and knowledge.
No.
As long as it's done correctly. Lysandra and I have had many conversations about all of these dumb things that we talk about. And a lot of those are what we talk about. But the reality is, and do you care if I say it?
What?
What we've talked about, the response? She's like, I don't know what it is. So yeah, go ahead. People are lazy.
Oh yeah,
They're-
I've said it.
People
Yeah.
are lazy and they just want to be spoon-fed something, and they're willing to pay for information. They are. So whether they're going to college to pay for information, or signing up for some course somewhere to pay for information, or coming onto Whatnot and paying for information, they're paying for information. Do I necessarily agree with it 100%? Not really. Am I mad or annoyed that they're doing it? Not really. People are lazy, and there's always people who will take advantage of that. Okay, go to town on me.
All right, let me jump in real quick.
Because
I'm itching to say something here, because this.
waiting to talk
Oh.
about it. So
So I agree 100%, Tony, in the fact that I am not against people monetizing their chat shows. I sell guides, I sell books, I have stuff that I sell
Sure.
to monetize it. Like I already said, I put 8 to 10 hours a week, week after week after week into this. It's forming a larger part of my business. So I get that. Where I have an issue with this is when it is when it's done against terms of service. So when it's done in a
Yes.
way that says, oh, sign up for this. And then once you put your credit card or once you buy this, it's taking you to an offsite service or subscription that you put your credit card in. That is diverting sales from Whatnot to an outside platform of some sort. It is against terms of service.
100%.
That's what I have. And to me, that is just as bad as putting buy my dog a treat in your bin. It is against terms of service, is against terms of service. I mean, black and white. So I have a real problem with that. The other problem I have, I don't care if they're selling PDFs. The fact that a lot of them are AI, that irritates me. But you know what? If they're following the rules, I'm okay. What I don't like is when they're preying on new people, when they're overcharging excessive amounts and they're preying on this. I make 6 figures a year. I have wings and you should buy my $500 course. That's an issue. And I know people can sit here and say, well, it's up to the person if they want to pay the $500 or not. When you're new and you see somebody who has wings or who's making 6 figures, or supposedly, and putting the ones that, I don't like when they take pictures of their financial screen and put it up there. And that's a personal thing. I just don't like it. I think it's very deceiving because it's gross, not net. They're using their success to pry on new people. And I think Sassy put in the chat earlier is, maybe it's a morals thing. I just won't go there. I just firmly believe, there's sellers out there that are selling a PDF for $20 a piece. I sell my guides for $5. Like, it's the information. It should be, we're doing this in community. How in the hell do you call yourself a community person? How are you doing this for community while you're like robbing them at the same time and prying on the newness of these people? There's a disconnect there. And I might not be verbalizing it exactly the right way, but there is a disconnect there. And that's where the issue lies for me with the people doing this. The same ones offering coaching and mentoring. Where are your credentials to do this? Y'all, why don't you send me some money? I'll coach you on how to do brain surgery. Never done one in my life, but heck, I'll go chat GPT it and teach you how to do brain surgery.
AI will teach me. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Don't we
where
all have
I'm.
those games, the doctor, where you put the
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, operation.
Where I'm getting upset with that's where it really starts to get under my skin, is when I'm seeing stuff like that. Show me your credentials. You know what? I have a very valid case where if I wanted to, I could put out there for coaching to help set up your books. Crystal, who's in the chat, could probably do the same thing. She's an accountant. I'm a CPA. I have credentials to support that. Just because you have wings, just because you've sold a lot of items, just because you've been on the app for 4 years doesn't mean that you have those credentials.
Correct.
Community is a very overused word on Whatnot for the sake of making money.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And I'll let Jeremy go now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
now that I got all riled up.
I'm not too dissimilar. I mean, for all of us, it boils down to, is it on there? Is it going to be on there? Is it going to go anywhere? No. Is Whatnot going to be okay with it? Yeah, because it's revenue producing for Whatnot at the same time. With the exception of situations like Tracy's talking about. And they eventually get found out, they get shut down. Once enough of people are like, hey, what you're doing here just isn't jiving with the terms of service and you're pulling money away from Whatnot, and they obviously don't like that. Me, I just can't. I mean, there's all sorts of ways I could do that kind of stuff. I've never done, I know I could have made tons. I'm talking thousands, tens of thousands plus on sponsored giveaways over the years that I've been on Whatnot at different phases. I could have done it, but I don't do it because I feel like it's usury, because I firmly believe in what I tell people, that that's not worth doing. That's not worth any money. So I would feel bad not be able to sleep at night knowing I'm selling somebody something that is not producing the money that they're paying for. There's no return on investment. And if I'm a business person, I'm going to give advice on how to get a return on investment. I mean, if I wanted to, as also, and people are like, hey, I did 6 figures, I'd be like, screw 6 figures, let's talk 7. I could be all pompous and be, it's like, but I'm not going to do that because, like Tracy said, who cares if you did 6? Who cares if you did 7? Who cares if you did 8 figures? It's how much money you're taking home at the end of the day that counts. And surprisingly, no one wants to share that, and that makes sense. No one likes to go and be like, hey, this is how much, that's even more tacky than showing your numbers, on a screen. I've showed my numbers and through my desire to let people know that this is accomplishable and how I do it to get to those numbers. But, it still comes down to profitability. That's the number one thing I point out. When I'm showing numbers, I'm like, none of this matters. I could accomplish this and still have lost $500,000. I could have lost $100,000. That's the part I'm not, but if you can source properly, these numbers are possible. And the people that are just taking advantage, I just couldn't, I can't do it because it completely contradicts what I'm trying to help people do.
Yeah.
Like that's not helping them make money, and like you said, leveraging community verbiage and aspects in order to milk money out of people. I just, I can't do it. And you see this too. This is another problem. You see these support community shows or people that are doing support shows. And I'm pretty certain some of these people are making more money giving advice than they are actually selling things. So these people are paying for advice on how to sell from people that have some of the least effective selling behind them.
100%.
Absolutely. And most of those ones are telling you how to sell the way they sell. Most of the ones making a lot of money in the community shows are saying, do it this way and only this way. There's one way to do this, and it's my way, and my way is going to make you rich. My way is going to make you successful. There is a million ways to whatnot. A good community host is going to say, hey, this is what I do, and I've seen this guy over here do this, and I've seen this person do this. Here's the tools you can use. They're going to give you options. They're going to lay it all out there for you and help either guide you or just give you the information for you to make those decisions. A good community host, somebody who's really there for you, isn't just trying to sell you their style. And that really hits the nail on the head for some of that we see a lot of.
I sometimes get pretty adamant. You guys have been in my chat shows, and I'll go off, and I'm like, but I'm not trying to sell people product and tell them this is the only way. I'll get, a little like, I believe this is the way things are going, and this is the way things are going to end up, and this is that's me personally believing it. And in the end, I always tell people like, hey, you do what you want to do, but this is what I think is the course of action to take.
Yep.
But selling somebody, that I don't know. It's just it really rubs me the wrong way. And that I'm going to go off on a little bit here. That still brings me back to, I wish Whatnot would kind of put some type of aspect in there like they did with the buy me a drink and this and that kind of stuff, to almost stall that out and let these people find other ways to monetize, because that's what it ultimately comes down to. These people are trying to find other ways to monetize besides just selling stuff.
100%.
So there is a huge craving for that, and there's a desire for it, and these people are coming up with business ideas, and they think they're great and genius. It's like, oh, this is a great idea, and it took off and worked. I always come back to this. I wish Whatnot would start looking at other avenues to help these people direct those energies towards legit, actionable outside monetization besides just selling items that aren't these creative loophole ways of taking advantage of new people. It's already hard enough for people to get started on here. And I don't know how many people in my chat shows over time where they're like, talking about how they dropped 500, 300, 600, upwards of $1,000 on sponsored giveaways. And they're like, it was great. And then it fizzles, just like, like you might get a boost right away, but not $500 worth of a boost.
It's not great, Jim.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like,
It's not great.
some people came in and said they had their best show ever after that. But the translation is when you dig into the numbers, when I would push them on it, it's like, yeah, it was the best show I had, but it still wasn't worth what I paid for it.
No.
You know, um, and to me, that's just leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the people trying to get started on here and get rocking and rolling, and well, like I say on here on whatnot. So, and like Tony said, I'm not against people finding out, trying to monetize other aspects on here. I just wish whatnot would start providing tools for people to do that, so they could direct that, so they don't have to do this kind of stuff. Like not keeping the gates open for what feels like scammy, manipulative, and usury concepts on here.
So how do you think they could limit it?
Honestly,
Why,
I think
why limit it?
Well, I mean,
Why don't you just have the repository out there with all the information that can be directed to the consumer?
I mean, there is though. Is it
Not
called
really.
terms of service? I guess there's not like these are the different ways to sell.
Listen, the people that put these ideas together, they spend time thinking about it. They fall into them and stuff. If there was other aspects, my belief is it would just naturally progress towards more valuable monetization opportunities.
Correct.
So even if they let those out there, it would it would eventually die on the vine. And then people would start seeing more likely to see for what it is as well. So I don't know if it would have to be limited. I just think providing other opportunities would just drive people away from it.
Well, and I think cracking down on some of the in-app type things, such as let me do an audit of your bio. Like there's certain things like that I think they could actually make against terms of service. It's those things. It's pay to co-host, doing a audit of your bio. There are, if you go to the community shows, there are a lot of community people that will be like, oh, let me see your bio. Oh, I would change this or this if it were me, without charging you, $50 to do it. So I think there's certain aspects of it that could possibly be built into terms of service somewhere. Again, though, right now they're not violating anything. It's hard to be like you're wrong because you're not doing something wrong. You're following the rules. It's more of that gray. Does it feel right? Is it really right to do?
There was and I don't remember. I would have to obviously go back and look. There was a time when the terms of service, the wording made it seem pretty much that you couldn't do the sponsored giveaways, to the point where they literally had to write that in as an exception. Like, we are okay. Like, you can run sponsored giveaways.
Well, they literally cannot get rid of sponsored giveaways.
I make too much money from them.
They make too much money, and there's too many of their top tier people who have based their whole show around it.
Yeah.
Moon Sky Vintage made a great comment that I just want to highlight. She says for Jeremy to always join his shows to see how he applies his strategies and principles. That goes for any seller support. If you're in a seller support a chat show and they're recommending something and it resonates with you, go to a selling show and see how they're applying that principle. There is probably even more to learn by dissecting someone's selling show than listening to them in a support show.
The best thing I ever have done, the best thing I've ever done is gone into Jeremy's chat show, and then he starts talking about keeping people awake by changing the sudden death and moving it back, or changing his times to 2 to 3 to 5 seconds. And then I go into his selling show and I watched it happen. And you watch, necklace A at 10 seconds regular time or whatever it was sell for $18, and he's like, whoa, what, everybody's sleeping? Let's do sudden death. And then you go down to 5 seconds in sudden death, or 10 seconds in sudden death, and you watch everybody wake up. And he does that a few times, gets everybody back into the groove of it. It's fascinating to watch how just putting those principles into action real time and watching the result of it, it's amazing. And exactly what Lysandra's saying. Go and watch and see how they're doing it to see if that's something that works for you.
And that comes back to what I was saying earlier about another attribute of do as I say, not as I do, where there's a ton of people that tell you to do stuff and you can't even watch them do it because it's not what they do. We're talking about people that like review people's, bios. I've seen people do that and they tell them to do all this stuff in their bio, and their bio is completely opposite. They'll tell them to do all these, like, you need to do this so the algorithm can find you and you can't be vague. And they have the vaguest, nonsensical bio of anybody, that's out there. And I'm just like, do people understand this? Do they understand that, like, this person's telling them what they should be doing and they're not doing it themselves?
Exactly.
Well, and the other thing too is watching, like you said, I agree, watch how they sell, go to their selling shows. I love that advice. But also listen around in the community. Are these people being spoken about in the community? How are we hearing? A lot of times you're not going to hear bad things being said, but are you hearing references? Are you hearing good things? Are you hearing people recommend different sellers? So what are you hearing in the community? And then two, what are they doing for the community? Not just look at their selling, but look at what they're actually doing in their shows. And in other people's shows within the community. Are they supporting other people? And I'm not talking about the one or two of their best friends that they always go in their shows. Do you see them in the community supporting people? Do they offer anything for free to you? Do they say, if they get questioned like, oh, how do I know I can trust your PDFs? Well, here's one for free. Check it out before you buy anything. Like, what are their business actions telling you about that person?
Well, I would hope that if someone's selling PDFs, that there'd be feedback telling people the success and quality of their results from that kind of stuff. So, I mean, obviously that's another avenue you want to go take a look at if you're watching people in community chat shows that are selling. If we're still on that topic of selling, monetizing the chat shows.
Yeah.
Have good feedback because they look to them as gurus, but they will. I mean, to some degree, but honestly, I think there are certain names you're going to hear over and over and over again. If you spend enough time on Whatnot, and I'm not saying spend all your time just in everybody else's show, you're going to hear specific chat show hosts referred to by multiple people. That speaks volumes versus just only hearing it from a small group, like the friend group.
Sometimes it does. That's up for debate too sometimes, Tracy.
Well, but like we said, Archivist earlier, I hear her name in shows in various categories across the board, in the morning shows, in the evening shows, like in enough people's rooms that if I personally didn't know who she was, I would be like, there's a lot of people saying a lot of good things about this person. That type of stuff is what really speaks volumes to me.
I get that. Go ahead.
Who are your guys' favorite chat shows host? Who do you recommend? Anybody else?
Oh my gosh, Jeremy doesn't count.
That's not in this room.
Yes, outside of us four.
Leslie is one of the ones I was going to recommend.
Yes, A Reworker's Passion. Sassy Vintage Chick has done a new seller support for many, many years. I like her show. There's good if you want to learn stuff. I tend to go more towards the businessy like ones. That's just kind of up my alley and what I like. Crystal's Vintage Collections. I always get the last part wrong. Does a really good CSV training. Reworker's Passion. I think I already saw that pop up. Yeah, you said that too. Yeah. So
you can't vote for yourself, Leslie.
There's so many, and the problem is I hate to say here's my favorites because as soon as we end this podcast, I'm going to think of 10 more, and then I'll feel bad that I didn't name them.
Right.
So.
Not your favorites, but just who you would recommend people go to beyond our 3 chat shows, really, and who you trust. I know
Red
you have a
Rooster.
calendar that Blasian Bunny put up of
Yes.
people that she recommends.
Hmm.
I like the Red Rooster, and I've been in her show many times. The only problem with her is that her chats are 98% focused around Canadian issues, Canada shipping.
That's probably needed for Canadian.
It's needed in the Canadian market. Agreed 100%, but she's not going to be very helpful for those in the States.
Now, I have
But
to
she's
disagree with
fantastic
that.
as far as what she's doing.
I have to
Kudos to
disagree.
Kim, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, kudos to Kim for bringing the box size to the reseller meetup.
Hell yeah, that was amazing.
Yes.
The seller summit to get her point across the whatnot.
Hmm. And I think she's been doing more shows. Like I've been listening to more. She did a great one about using social media and the different types of social media and what Instagram is good for and what Facebook is good for. So I've heard her been doing other ones. Yes, she is a Canadian seller. She does have a lot of a Canadian, perspective, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think more recently, like in the last maybe 4 months, I've seen a lot more variety in topics in what she's talking about that I've really enjoyed.
She has done variety in the past. The Red Rooster is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
What Liz likes, how can we
and
not say?
I
Liz?
popped into her show. I mean, this is probably maybe even two years ago, over a year ago. Let's just say that. And she was talking about what constitutes like the whole top. That's when the whole topic of auctioneers having a license or not. She actually called the Pennsylvania State Auction Board to ask them what is, what's viable, what's not, what you can do, what you can't do, and that has nothing to do with I mean, that was Pennsylvania, United States, and so
I catch her online occasionally. I've probably been in 4 to 6 of her shows over the last 2 months, and it's all been Canada centric. So I pop in, I say my hellos, I listen for a little bit to see if there's something I can pick up on. But it's everyone I've been in has had that Canada undertone. So I don't get much.
And everyone knows, like everyone that was mentioned here, I think they're great resources. Dee and and like Tracy said, there'd be ones that I think, but all my stuff goes to old school because the like Liz having her chat show for ages, paralleled with she started hers like not a short period before I started mine. So like that was one of those attributes that I did a chat show, she would do a chat show, and it was kind of funny. There was some fun back and forth because our differencing of opinions. I think we did a little the battle back and forth through our chat shows, and it was good and helpful. I think for everybody for different opinions. But right now, I mean, you're talking a long time ago. Like I said, I sell and I'm online selling so much that I need breaks. So if I go into a chat show, I'm not looking for someone that I'm previously familiar with. I'm kind of curious to what newer people or smaller chat shows are, what's going on out there, because that lets me know what is potentially in need, what people need out there, because your chances of finding what's lacking is going to be in those smaller shows. Like the one show I went into where the person was saying that your 1,000 items sold, it doesn't qualify unless it's a quality listing. And I'm like, man, and then there's a bunch, there's several people in there saying, oh, I didn't know that. Like it was a revelation. And I'm just like, is that the word that's out there? Is that the way it is? And, I have to go and do some research, look at the terms of service. So I can't really say like, oh, these are the people that I don't have anyone that I go and watch on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I just pop into people's smaller chat shows or what I would call medium sized people that have, I would say, 25 or fewer people in their room. I'll jump in for not long, just for a little bit. Yeah. Like when I say not long, I'm talking like 2 minutes or less.
So I think I agree with everybody, what everybody's already said. What Liz likes, a rework is passion. Natural State of High does a For the One Friday. If you want a little uplifting show, it's not a seller support, but it's just announcing your wins for the week, which I think is important for a lot of people. And one I did not hear mentioned is CG Boomerang Echo. And her Thursday night chat show is about raid trains. You want to learn about raid trains? That's the one to catch.
Yeah.
And again, what everybody else said, what was like Spleasian Bunny, Custom Wood Burning is a great one. Crystal's Vintage Collective does the CSV file uploads if you're interested in doing bin listings and things like that and being more efficient. I know I'm missing a bunch too.
And I'm just gonna call her out.
The Archivist.
I'm just gonna call her out because she did the little happy birthday song, Jeremy. But Liz had a chat show on sometime.
What not to do.
It was a what not to do.
It was amazing.
It was an
Yeah,
opposite thing. Oh my God!
It was amazing.
It was one of the best shows I'd seen in Community in months.
And it was so funny because she was
fantastic.
She was in my show, and I know through the chat and something I was saying, she's like, I should do a show of what not to do. I'm like, oh my God, you totally have to do this. She's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So the next Monday, I think it was the following Monday, that's when she did her show. And over an hour in character, not breaking character the whole time.
It was amazing.
People would buy stuff from her, and she'd be like, why did you buy my soap? It's awful. Why are you supporting me like that? Like the whole raids would come in, and she would start to acknowledge it. And she's like, no, I don't care about you. Like anything you're not supposed to do, she would do for the whole show.
She started this show out by specifically calling out you, Jeremy. And I can't remember what it was for either. Do you remember, Tracy?
I don't remember, no.
And then for me, because the title of our listings for our auction listings is our max shipping, $3.99 max shipping. And she's like, how dare you use your auction titles to communicate with your buyers? And, oh my gosh, it was literally the best. It was so funny.
I had not laughed that hard in a minute. So it was a great show.
That would be cool if we could go back and watch that stuff.
It really would be.
You know?
It really would be. So, anyway, sorry. I had to throw that in. There's no favoritism here towards Liz, but it was fantastic.
And so far, the people that are throwing people into the chat, I haven't seen anybody that I would say don't go listen to. Everybody's Sugar Hill Market's great too.
They're all good. Yep. Yeah, I've been reading.
Sounds like we all listen to the same people.
Why do we listen to the same people? Because we have been here around long enough to find the ones that are giving good advice. So
correct.
All right, let me go back to my notes and see what we haven't covered.
Okay.
I want to make a point because we talked about looking at the number of sales, looking at how long we talked about all these factors of things to look at, and some people come on. Just because you're new doesn't mean you can't do a talk show, but it's what are you doing it on? What type of talk show? If you're brand new, you've been on the app a month, giving support, like telling people how the app works, doesn't make sense. But taking something from that you're an expert in and communicating that, or just doing a show of let's get to know each other, let's just talk and chat, is very different and more acceptable than I'm going to help you navigate all through whatnot, even though I've only been doing it for 30 days. There's a vast difference in that. So I know there's been a few people that I would absolutely go to that are very close to new, but they have an expertise in something, and that's what their focus is on. So there's a big difference in what we're saying. We're not saying just because you're new, we're going to ignore you. It is a factor to consider with everything else.
I'm going to give a couple. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
It's all right. If I was new and starting a chat show, I'd do a reverse help chat show. I'd be like, I need your help and ideas to succeed.
I was just thinking the same
Daisy
thing.
Lane actually is kind of started a show like that. That's how she started her chat shows when she was new.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's been done, and I think there's probably room for that because I think people like to give advice so that, and that's one of the advices I give to people that are new is like, don't be scared to ask people in your room, because if you get the right people in your room, they're going to stay because they like helping you succeed.
That's right.
And yeah.
And
I wouldn't.
Tracy mentioned this the other day, and she just talked about it. She's like, take what you're an expertise in your life and make a chat show around it, right? So, one of the things I thought was really cool is Miss Vivian on the app does a yoga show early in the mornings, like 5 a.m. in the morning. You can catch her on Whatnot doing yoga with people. Leslie, a Reworkers Passion, why she does her community shows, her community host shows that she's required to do. Her Monday show is really about motivation, not so much about click this button, this is how you to ship.
Yep.
It's about motivating you as a seller and as a person.
Yep.
It's super uplifting.
And if
And
you think
then,
about it, by doing that too, your true authentic self is coming out. Isn't that what we always say, is be yourself
That's right.
on here? So when you're taking, what you do in real life, or, what your expertise is, what your passions are, and you're sharing that with people, that makes a lot stronger connection than coming on here trying to be something that you're not.
I've done chat shows from a rabbit convention where I walked around the National Rabbit Convention showing people 28,000 rabbits and talking about the rabbits.
Yep. Sure did.
Apparently, I did a chat show at a bar and forgot.
Yes, you did. It was a great one though, Jeremy. Honestly,
I remember it now. I do.
Do you?
Remember it.
Yeah, it was a good little hour or hour and a half or whatever it was.
I have a question for you, and for anybody in the who wants to put in the chat what their feeling on this is. This is my pet peeve. How do you feel about people in the community, under community, and you go to click on it, and they're just selling their clothes, or they're selling? It drives me insane. I'm like, I'm in community because I want community shows. I don't mind you sell something here or there. I don't mind if you have stuff in your bin. But like when I click in it and it's like a legit show, like it's a jewelry show listed under community, drives me insane.
Do you think it's just people who don't know better?
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
In my
That's what I was
opinion, they're
curious.
doing it because there's less competition.
But there's also less people looking for sales in community. So isn't it pointless to run a selling show in community?
I agree.
No one's saying that it's a logical reason. There are all kinds of logical things.
I think that's the mindset behind it, though, is okay, I can't get footing in clothing, which is a really big category on Whatnot. So let me go over here in community where there's only 20 shows going and try to create people, get people. For me, I'm going to immediately swipe out because that's not what I'm in that category for.
Right.
And I feel like that's the majority of people. So I think it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Tracy. If I see it in there, I'm just like, what are you doing? And I just kind of think maybe my initial thoughts were like, maybe they just misinterpreted what community is and they're a newer seller. But I don't bother to go in and do any looking to see if that's maybe the case.
Zodi, your stickers, Natural State of High is who I'm talking to. I feel like that makes sense to put those sticker shows in the community category because that is where sellers hang out and that's who you are marketing to.
Yes.
That makes sense to me.
I'm talking more like I've gone into shows recently and they're like selling clothing. There's a rack behind them and I'm like, what did I walk into? I thought we were having a talk show here.
Yeah. Listen, if your business model is around the function of your what you're doing is community based and you have something that you sell in conjunction with it, it's no different than when Liz started her chat show. It was, let's talk about Whatnot and my soap. So that was a parallel. She wanted to sell her soap the whole time. But the primary purpose was the community chat aspect, and the secondary person, I'm assuming, Natural State of High, I could be wrong, that's the way your community shows are. It's primarily community based and to have a good time and fun, and the secondary aspect is selling
stickers. To sellers. To sellers.
Yeah.
So
and if you're doing that, that's actually even more community based if you think about it, because you're doing it for other people in the community.
Exactly.
That was like a two-tiered community aspect. I don't think
sense.
that's an oopsie at all.
So, what about the opposite way? How do people feel about community shows within the categories?
I thought there was something against in TOS against that, but I'm probably wrong.
No,
I don't think so.
No?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I mean, in reality, if you just put items in your bin, then it's a
No,
selling show.
the TOS, yeah, but the TOS says that it's not. From what the last time I looked, it mentioned what is required to not be in violation, and engagement is one of the requirements. And you can have 1, 2, or 3 of the different. You can sell, you can be like, and engagement is one of them. It pretty much looked to me what Whatnot was trying to spell out is you can't just have a show with a piece of paper up that says "Go to my bin and buy" type of thing. But
Yeah,
I don't know
you
that.
have to have a live person. You have to be
Yeah,
active.
yeah. So, but you can sell nothing and just engage. So, but does anybody? I think we're getting off on a bunny trail because I don't even know of anybody that goes into these the other shows, and that seems to be the biggest element of monetization chat show environment to me is when people are over in the non-community categories doing chat shows and running sponsored giveaways and all that kind of stuff. I could be wrong, but that just feels like that's the way it is to me. But to get back to Tracy's original question, without going too far off on a bunny trail, I don't personally have a problem with it. I don't think, because I'm always looking at Whatnot from that perspective of discoverability, and people are going to find you based on their interest and what they, and not so much as far as people going in and getting all the buyers in their chat show in that category, which I think is one of the big sticking points that people have about it. It feels like that's what people were complaining about, and that's why they created a community show. But I, I don't think it's overly problematic. I think if they decided to move these people that would hoover up the viewership, they're just going to pull those people out of that category and over to the community category. It's not like those people are like, oh, if that person was over in community, I wouldn't be in their chat show.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
And Zodi makes a great point. The community hosts are expected to do their monthly chat shows in their category.
Yep.
Whatnot
But they're
wants
also
them
selected
to reach the
because,
majority.
yeah. Aren't they selected
But
too
the-
because they want so many in different categories? Like they want that
Yeah,
broad.
yeah. They want the different kind, but it is a chat show in a selling category. So, Whatnot directed. So
They don't
it's
bother. I
obviously
mean,
okay.
yeah. I don't have a problem seeing a chat. I enjoy the chat show. So if I happen to be in women's clothing and I see someone doing a chat show, I'm totally cool with that because I'm looking for chat shows anyway. So those are my favorite. So
Oh, I see many chat shows in a selling category that should just turn it off.
Yeah. One thing I would say is I think it'd be of more to my liking if the people that did that were more centered around whatever category they were in, like every topic they talked about and what they had to say dealt with that category. That'd be nice if that was the case, but
Correct.
I don't know if it is, which I think is the end goal, what you're saying with Whatnot designating people in this category to do the chat shows, because they're supposed to talk about whatever Whatnot is offering and how it can help them in that category specifically. It would be my take.
No, it's not. It's not in that category specifically. It's whatever the topic of the month is. It's across the board. All of them are going to talk about the same topic. It's not partialed out or changed based on the category it's presented in. But they run them in the category that they sell in, so that they can reach a wider audience.
Yeah. So when they're doing that, it's all this exact. I know they have the same talking points, but they're not supposed to cater those talking points towards that category. Like if you're in the clothing category, you're not supposed to be like, well, here's how I would utilize these tools when I'm selling clothing.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
are.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Gotcha,
Right.
gotcha.
Everyone has the same talking points, but they're in the, and that's all. That's what I'm saying too. When somebody has a chat show, if they're talking about everything that deals with whatnot, whatever the ideas behind it, they would relay it more directly towards that category that they're having the chat show in.
I interpreted it differently.
Yeah, and I understand. Yeah. You interpret it, and I'm sure a lot of other people, and I can see how that's the case, that each person got their own talking points that dealt specifically, or different tools specifically designed for that category. No, that's not what I meant. So,
no worries, we're good. That's why we do this. Clear it up. Okay, as official reseller roundtable timekeeper, 15-minute warning.
You're early.
It's 15 minutes.
You're early.
I try to keep it 15-minute warning. So if anybody has any questions regarding chat shows or anything that they feel we haven't touched on, please feel free to put them in the chat or re-put them in the chat if we've missed them.
I have a quick question. What do you think is lacking in the chat show community, in the community category for chat shows? Do we need more? What's that?
Oh my gosh. No, it's not.
It is. It absolutely is. I said correct knowledge. Correct knowledge is lacking in the community.
I don't think it's lacking. I think they.
I bet.
What do we think is lacking? That's a good question.
Since Austin, I have been in many community shows. I've made it a point. There's a lot of wrong information being spewed out there.
Yeah. So let me ask it another way. Like, what's lacking, or what do you think would be good for the community to increase? Like what like let me do it this way. Tracy, you talked about the different type of styles of shows in the community at the top of this conversation. Is there more or less of some of those things you think is needed in here, or is none of it really needed? It's just the way the way it is. Like you were talking about the hype shows. Do you think they're good or bad, and should there be none or less of that? The support shows, do you think that the majority of them should be support shows, or do you think these, the educational ones, there should be more of those or less of those? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I find the Givey and Raid ones kind of annoying.
Oh, thank you, Lysandra, because I got everybody mad 2 weeks ago with one of my answers, so I'm glad you said that first.
I just do because I don't mind the yogas and the how-tos and things like that, but there's so many of them, and when I'm trying to scroll through the bookmark shows that I would like to catch, I end up half of them are let's raid and Givey. Yeah. Givey and raid.
Yeah.
And, I wish and a lot of that's the raid trains that are requiring a lot of that to happen. But it's annoying to see.
Julie, I do want to ask, when you say helping with organization, like organization of your product that you're selling, or business financial organization, or shipping organization, can you specify that a little bit more for me? Or
please
just
expand.
All of it?
And while we're waiting on that, I totally agree with Lysandra. I'm just not a fan of these. Julie, come to my show. Zoe's Treasures right here. Just that's what we talk about. But I totally agree that I'm not a fan of these. Okay, everybody, let's get together and go raid somebody. If I accidentally get in that show, I'm getting back out. I'm just going to go in the show that I want to go into. Like, I'm just not. Right. I know the people doing that do it from a good place. I know it's from their heart that they're trying to be supportive. I get that. Like, I see the goodness in what they're trying to do. I'm just not sure. To me, it's clutter. Maybe that's it. To me, it's just a lot of
clutter. Yes.
Yes.
I agree with that. Clutter is a good word.
Do you think that could be kind of a changing of the guard from newer people constantly coming on, and us being on whatnot for so long, and our interpretation of community had to do with before community, and it was a chat show, and then community was a house for chat shows and support shows, and then they interpreted it as raiding.
This is raiding into.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with
you, but
that's I'm trying to make sure it's not just my bias based on my previous perception of the community category.
Right. Right.
Because
Yeah.
it is. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I like community because it felt to me that the purpose behind it was initially some type of support environment where people go to crowdsource information, share information, give advice, and learn from each other. And that's not what I feel Raid and doing the like let's just run giveaways and sit here and build up a room and raid into somebody else. Wasn't there a big time when tons of raid trains were happening in the community category? It wasn't
There
just
still is.
it was
There still
There
is.
it was
still
like
is.
literally like the raid train, which to me feels weird because I always thought one of the aspects of raid trains was to almost help a category grow and build and bring people to a category, and it just
I
feels
find
like the community's over here.
I agree with you, Jeremy. I know all of our raid trains are in specific categories.
Mhm.
Because I don't understand why people would put them in community unless it is a seller support raid train, which is out there. Laser Bunny, educational
Education,
ones.
the jewelry
Which makes
education
sense.
one.
It's that it's in its category. The
Yeah.
raid train is within its category of what I feel the intended purpose for the category was.
Now, I did the CEO challenge. We did a lot of those in community, but also the focus of that was a business focus, even though we had jewelry, cards, and some of them were in their categories, but like mine were always in community.
It would make sense that yours were because
Yeah.
you were in charge of that raid train and it was business focused. But
Yeah.
I feel like the people that did the CEO challenge probably, unless that
Should be in
first one where they were
theirs.
kind of introducing, they should be in their own
Okay.
category.
Right.
That's good to know for future. Good note to make.
Julia, highly recommend going and checking out Tracy's shows. She's very type A. She even talks about block scheduling and all kinds of organization. I'll put in a little plug. Tomorrow I'm having a shipping show and I'm focusing around setting up your ship station efficiently and being more efficient about the shipping process. Sorry.
Don't come to my shows. I'm gonna fly by the seat of your pants and do things way different.
Oh, I don't have notes. I don't have notes.
There's no notes over here.
There's no
Go
notes over
to
on this
Tracy's
side.
show if you're looking for like very structured organization. That's not me.
So I'm just gonna go back real quick to things that I would like to see in community, and it doesn't have anything to do with the shows. I'd like to see the categories. I'd like to see what Tracy talked about on the different types of shows out there was a good start, but in the actual education, I'd like to see a category for shipping. I'd like to see a category for business.
That'd be cool.
I'd like to
Yeah,
see
I'd like that.
subcategories.
I'd like to see those
Yeah, weird.
subcategories in the community. Thank you. I lost the word there for a second. But I'd like to see the subcategories in the community that I can go and just look at shipping, and I can scroll through them all I want and not get redirected into the garbage that I'm getting redirected into now by scrolling. So that's my 2 cents.
I've seen this a lot in the chat, so I'm going to bring it up. Chat shows, people treating chat shows as whatnot customer service.
Yeah.
It's important to do your own research, and I agree with, but maybe if whatnot had better customer service, there wouldn't be such a need.
Well, we do have the customer service issue.
Listen, there's no two ways about the fact that Whatnot catered to the community and gave support to it because they want to offload some of those attributes of their business by crowdsourcing it to us.
100%.
I mean, that's a standard business model that's been that way for ages now. So unfortunately, Lysandra's wish, I don't think is going to happen. But I understand what Kate's saying and other people have said concerning that. I very frequently, when people come in and ask those customer service questions, I'm always like, to me though, 90% of it's just what you came up to before, Tony, of people just being inherently uh, sluggish or lazy as far as wanting the answer as opposed to finding it out for themselves. They just want to be told. And to me, it's like, you shouldn't just be taking my word for it, first of all. And even if you trusted my word, I still am a firm believer you're going to learn a lot more by going to research it yourself, and it's there to be had.
Absolutely.
Go to Whatnot, and I'm very frequently telling people when they ask those questions, and I think a lot of people should do that when someone asks a customer service type of question. Just go to the Whatnot help pages. You're not going to get the answer by talking to Whatnot customer service, but 9 times out of 10, the answer you're looking for is buried in the terms of service or the help pages. Yeah.
Yep.
And view it as a learning opportunity where you are going to learn a bunch of different things that are going to be potentially useful for you in your selling adventure on Whatnot. So,
I talked about it months ago about just doing a seller support show on TOS. It'll be boring as heck, but I've talked about doing it because it is definitely something that is needed.
I'm not in Okra. I think once we got into the customer service beta program, which was 8 weeks into us being on Whatnot, so what, 14 months ago now, something like that, 16 months ago now, not quite that.
14.
I think I've contacted Whatnot twice.
Yeah.
I'm not quite as willing to argue with the AI bot as Tracy is to get questions. I just kind of like,
I'll go back and forth for days.
I know you
Yeah,
do.
no.
God love you for it.
Okay.
I'm just like, typically it's not that important. I'll figure it out.
well,
Absolutely.
the unfortunate aspect of that is I don't contact Whatnot about any things because it ends up being this, but that doesn't help them realize that they should be doing more. That means they're winning in their efforts of making it complicated enough that you just give up and deal with the problems instead of them resolving the issues. And that still comes back to, again, we're on a bunny trail now, comes back to like why I think a lot of people starting on these live selling, like on Whatnot, live selling when they're new, that's a lot of frustration. That is so much frustration, like not having any guidance, not having anything, to go to, or where you do, if you're going to get accurate information, you have to go do a ton of research for yourself. I'm a fan of that, but the majority of people are not. It's so not having that availability to go and contact someone at Whatnot to get an answer when you end up having a problem. Or could you imagine a new seller, now that every new seller is auto enrolled into that customer service, and then you get this thing that's telling you, like what Tracy was talking about before, having an overcharge that is completely wrong, and they're just like scared to death that that's going to ruin their opportunity and Whatnot before it even got started, and they ignore them for days. That's a terrible start to an experience for something like this.
Absolutely. I know we only have a couple of minutes, but I have one kind of last thing to throw out there about where I think we're going to see more community shows go. I see a prevalence and just a very small emergence of service-oriented selling coming through community. I think a year, 2 years down the road, we're going to see a lot of it. And I really hope Whatnot pays attention and listens, because we are going to need that regulated, or it's going to be like the Wild West. I really see if it could be done remotely, which COVID taught us there's a lot of things that can be done remotely now. If it can be done remotely and electronically, it's going to start to be offered on Whatnot pretty soon through community. And it's not like I've heard anything from Whatnot. I've just already seen some of these pop up, and I've thought about it in the way as, how can I grow and take advantage of something like that? So
service, and can you give an example or two? I know
website creation, people are doing, like the graphic designs, taxes, accounting, any business type service, setting up LLCs, unfortunately, anything that you can do remotely.
So kind of like a Fiverr.
Yep.
Fiverr type deal within the community page, which means they probably should have a whole nother category if they want to allow something like that.
Yep.
A service category. which is something huge to capitalize on.
When are the subscription opportunities going to present themselves on what?
I hope they don't.
Oh, it's gonna
I
be
hate
there.
the subscriptions. I hope they don't.
Well,
So
so far they said,
especially with the services.
well, years ago, they said there's another one of those that 4 years ago they said in 6 months that was coming.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. So, but if you don't like it, the fortunate thing, there's a lot of those, and they still aren't on the horizon. Like, you know, like the co-host selling, we were told
Yes.
4 years ago it was coming in 6 months. The whatnot gift cards. We
Gift
were told 4
cards.
years
Gift
ago it was
cards.
coming in 6 months. Like all,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
don't have to worry about it. At the rate they're moving with that, the stuff they said was coming in 6 months a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
but
And we are at the end. Tabitha, you make a really good point. I don't want your comment to go unnoticed. I think all of us agree with that. So
Oh, there's lots of specific comments like that we'll all
Yes.
agree on 100%.
This was a very not debatey show again for us.
yeah, shame on us for not
yeah.
It's
getting
hard
into
to
it.
disagree with the truth, though.
I like the debate ones though.
I know you do. But I hope everybody learned a little bit. I hope it was somewhat informative. What else?
Don't
I would say
forget to
the
hit that
conclusion to
like
the end of
button.
all this is if you're interested in doing one, know what you're talking about, and it can be valuable to your business.
Can be.
It can be 100%.
It really
Yes.
can be. What were you going to say, Tracy?
Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, do that too. That helps us out and gets us out to more people.
Like and subscribe, please.
Yeah, do that thing.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Catch you all later.
See you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.